Welcome along, one and all, to PSGL Season 37, PSF3 Round 10. We are deep into the season now. The championships are taking shape, the tension is rising, and the Temple of Speed will play host to the next chapter in this epic tale. It is the Italian Grand Prix. That is what we have to look forward to this evening. My name is Deka, and I'll be helping you through the action tonight, as always, and also, as always, alongside me, it is Ghost. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We're really in the business end of the season now, and here in Monza, well, we've already got a very big train of cars. It does make me wonder if it's going to rain later in the session, but I'm not seeing any clouds in the sky because everyone has come out unusually quickly, given that it's such a short track. So, yeah, I do wonder, but there's no signs in the sky that there's any raindrops to come. But maybe the drivers know better.
Potentially, but yeah, there's certainly no evidence of that. Of course, even though it says Monza being qualifying, we don't have to worry much about slipstream because the collisions are turned off for this session. So the laps will be representative, and the first lap of the session will come through from Maliapis over the line to take on the Temple of Speed for the first time tonight. Ghost, take it away.
Here we go then, down towards turn one, this infamous chicane where plenty an incident has happened. 2021, of course, the biggest one of recent times, but nicely cutting over the curbs there from Maliapis, perfectly using the parts of the curbs that he can use. Now through Curva Grande all the way down to the Della Roggia chicane, where we saw a famous overtake from Oscar Piastri just the other week. Again, nicely over the curbs from Maliapis. Those curbs are going to be a big factor in these qualifying laps. If you cut them too much, then you're going to lose all your time and basically bin your lap. Lasmo 2 for Maliapis, nicely through there, and DRS all the way down towards Ascari. We could see some overtakes here, more likely to see them down towards turn one, but certainly if we got some last lap shenanigans, we could see them here. Ascari through goes Maliapis. It's a really momentum-based section of corners, Ascari is, and Appy's doing decently there, but I don't think he'll be happy with some of those apexes. Into the final corner, what used to be Parabolica, and I will still refer to it as such, as does everyone. Down to the line, it comes Maliapis for the first lap of the session, and it's a pretty good one. An 18.6 is very strong, and we'll see how everyone else compares.
That's a good banker from Maliapis, and yes, poor Michele Alboreto. No one's acknowledged his name as the new Parabolica. Let's watch these lap times come in. I was going to peg the pole time as as around about the low to mid 18s, and Maliapis already approaching that, as is Louis Baptiste. Very strong opener from that man. You can see several other times coming in. Spicer, Nick, they're all very solidly in there at the moment. As just coming over the line, I think that was, I've just seen Finley actually going into P5 slash just in front of him. Wow, these I cannot keep up with how many lap times are coming in. Raphael is invalidated, so that will be the end of that. And Chris Rebel didn't get a valid time, and the rest of the drivers decided not to go out on those opening runs. So just like that, most of the first runs already out the way, and the first one we saw did turn out to be the fastest. Maliapis coming out very strongly there on an 18.6 ahead of Louis. Close gaps, but I think that's to be expected from Monza. It's not a track where you're going to see huge gaps in qualifying. There are only about, well, there's 11 corners in total, and only about 6, you would say, sections on the track where you can really gain or lose time. So expect small gaps, and that means that nailing the lap when it matters is going to be oh so crucial. Maliapis getting up there strongly, and I'm not sure if you can see this as well, but a little bit of a mixed up order, I'd say, compared to what you're used to seeing from PSF3 this season.
Yeah, agreed. Fraser down in ninth is the biggest thing, I would say. But also championship leader Coolman, last place of the ones who have done laps. So he's going to need to find a lot of time. 7/10 is massive around here. 7/10 around here is, I would say, nearly 2 seconds around somewhere like Spa. So yeah, we do have very close gaps around Monza usually, and it does produce even more exciting qualifyings usually, but we've had plenty of exciting qualifyings in PSF3. We don't need a track like Monza to have that. So Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting 12 and a half minutes to come. There's several people on outlaps. That's everyone who didn't do a lap to start with. And we'll see how they do as well. But Maliapi's first out and first on the board after 15 runs. Very, very strong opener.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Maliapi's going to the top of the timesheets early. Yeah, several drivers deciding to run out of sync. Actually, Napple has just stormed past Frantic Jashorny on the back straight towards Parabolica to kick off that first lap then. So Napple followed by Frantic, who has had a rich vein of form in recent rounds and actually now sits fourth in the standings with 4 podiums in the last 5 races. Napple comes over the line now. Let's see what he's going to be able to pull out then into De Rettifio, getting it turned in. You can see holding third gear all the way through, looking for that traction on the exit and planting that throttle pedal foot hard down to the floor. That is the position that you're in for the majority of a lap here at Monza. They call it the Temple of Speed for a reason. The average speeds are tremendous around here. 26.1 for the first sector. First sector times can depend a lot on your wing level. Straight line speed matters so much. This second sector a little bit less so as you head into the Lesmos here, trying to bite into that apex. Didn't quite get the rotation he was looking for. Lesmo 2 very aggressive on that turn in, on the throttle once again on the exit, and DRS open for the second time on the lap. Downhill run now heading towards Ascari. Watch that second sector time, should be in the low 52s. It is. So Napple looking on track at the moment. I think it's only about a tenth, or actually it's around about where Maliapis was, I believe. So this looks fairly strong. Keeping an eye on Frantic as well further down the lap. Spyros and Raphael also kicking off laps behind. They have not got time on the board, so getting this one in right now is critical. Napple chucking it in to Parabolica, getting it to that inside curb and onto the throttle once again. Watch the clock here. 18.6 is the time to beat. Napple is a low 7. That's a strong lap. Frantic Jashorny behind does go fastest on an 18.6. 08 goes fractionally ahead of Maliapis. I think Spyros went into P6 and Raphael is a couple of tenths shy of what the top guys are doing. So the first couple of sectors goes over the line, goes 8th. Yeah, just a couple tenths down, 118.8. So solid runs for most of the drivers that got those runs in a bit later. Track evolution has come into play, but Frantic going fastest now, 0.15 ahead of Maliapis, but Maliapis looks to be finding time out there.
Yeah, I mean, that just sums it up. Just a couple tenths down on pole, and he's 8th. And, well, I mean, Predestinato 3 tenths down, and he's down in 12th. That is how close it is. That is what the margins are on this circuit. There's only a few real braking zones to speak of, as Maliapis improves on his previous best and goes back to pole position. And 18.4 is the new time to beat, and that is a long way ahead of everyone else. It doesn't seem like it, but on this track, that is quite the distance. And I think it's because he gets turns 1 and 2 just absolutely perfect. No, I haven't seen anyone else do the Rettifio as well as Maliapis so far. I would wager that's where he's gaining most of his time. Louis Baptiste goes to P2, but still a long, long way off that pole time in 1.7 tenths. Still plenty of laps to come across the line, though, but Finley's purple in Sector 2, but he's invalidated, and no one else is lighting up the timesheets with purple lap times. Maybe Fraser, I think, could be on for something, but he's only in Sector 1, so perhaps not. It's coming to that now, and he's not improving even. So plenty of improvements happening. I think that was Slash going to P5, but no one is anywhere near that top time.
It is a track where you can sometimes see a specialist, and Maliapis at the moment, well, I don't think we were anticipating a gap like that at this stage in the session. It could all change, of course, as I think that was IRTC coming over the line. Just scrapes into the 118s, 16th at the moment. Predominantly very close. I mean, we've got, 6 drivers? Or even 7 drivers? No, 8 drivers. Yeah. on a 118.7 I couldn't even keep track of them. That's why I kept adding 1 to the number. But very close in that section of the field. And Louis, a solid lap to go second, but that's a tall order. As Nick is progressing on the track. Oof. You say it goes second, and finally we're seeing that gap beginning to be bridged. RT Nick, good spot, goes second into the 4s as well. So we are seeing drivers finding that time and getting under that 118.5 mark. So Nick moving into contention, and for the drivers that don't have great laps on the board, there's still a couple more opportunities to sort that out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great effort from Nick. That was purple sector one. So I was talking about Maliapis being perfect in Retafio, and Nick was clearly even better, but just lost out in the rest of the circuit just a little bit. But that's all you need at this circuit. Just a tiny, tiny little error, and it will cost you several positions. Actually, with the grid being this close. So this is fantastic stuff. Very unpredictable, but Maliapis so far has produced himself as the favourite, which, like you say, unexpected coming into this one. He hasn't really been a hot shot for pole in any race up until now that I remember, as Viadet goes very wide at Ascari after going 2 tenths up in Sector 2 and invalidates, unfortunately. That would have got him up 5 or 6 positions if he'd closed out that lap. But Ascari can often catch out the unsuspecting driver who just wants to finish off their lap if they just turn in a tad too early, or they try to put in a bit more speed than they should or they could. Then they're going to go off, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Back into the pits for another attempt. 6 minutes to go, though.
And that's going to happen increasingly, I imagine, near the end of the session as drivers look to push the limits a little bit more. Ascari is going to be a hotspot for invalidations and other types of mistakes, especially in a track where the margins are so close. Maliapis, by the way, he is a reserve driver, has only made 3 appearances this season. Last time out in Spa was one of them. Best result, 13th place in Silverstone, the opening round, and there hasn't really been much more to report from this season from Maliapis, so massive turn up for the books. Let's see how that time is going to hold up. Spicer, I believe, is far along. We've seen Spicer's 1 lap pace on numerous occasions throughout this championship. No poles, but certainly a lot of very high starts. NLR Spicer coming up towards that line now. 118.724 is the current time. This should be a little bit of a jump up, and it is, and it's pole. Look at that. Spicer moving forth and putting a marker down for the rest of them to chase after. NLR Coolman, the title leader, currently way down, very rear of the field. How far up does he jump? Only to 18th position. Now, Coolman, I've seen, usually he does maximise the result that his pace is capable of. That's why he's been able to lead this championship at this point. But it must be said, in terms of raw speed, he has been a bit spotty and so far struggling to get to grips with this track. This is a real opportunity for the pursuers, but even they haven't quite got the best laps in. So, for championship-wise, a lot of potential to be unfurled to try and take advantage, because Coolman does seem to be struggling a little round here.
Yeah, it seems like everything's flipped up a little bit. Fraser down in 11th, Coolman 19th now, as Maliapis once again improves to first place, beating out Spicer by 23 thousandths of a second. It is mighty close for pole. Very, very unpredictable. Anyone can find 2 tenths if they really nail a lap. So there's still a lot of time to go in this session for things to change, but Maliapis right up there. I do wonder if he's got another set, or if that's going to be it, or if he's going to come back out on an old set. I'm not sure, but we'll find out, I'm sure. But yeah, Coolman, Finley, Fraser, although Finley's jumped up to P6 recently, but Fraser and Leonardo not as high up the grid. In fact, Leonardo not even here, so not as high up the grid as they would have hoped for. And, well, Coolman, if you're going to have a bad week, you would want your bad week to be in the same week that your title rivals have a bad week. And so he's not going to be happy to see Finley up in 6th right now, if this is his true pace. I did wonder after his first lap, maybe he made a mistake. It wasn't really a hooked up lap, and he just finished it to get a time on the board, and then his next one was going to be this real pace. He's done another lap, and he's still in 19th place.
Yeah, and this is a track that draws on a very peculiar skill set, I do think. RTC, by the way, is coming up to the line, but decides nothing doing, so decides to bail out of that one. So it's fairly quiet on circuit at the moment. No one that's on a flying lap. In fact, the next driver I imagine that's going to start one is going to be Matisse, currently last of all on a 119.232, so a bit of a gulf between him and the rest. Is going to want to try and put something better together in the minutes to come. 2:40 on the clock, so still time for a final run out there. But yeah, Finley being up in sixth will be something of a concern for Coolman. We'll see if he's able to find a little bit more. But yes, we are seeing, I mean, Spicer we've seen in qualifying up there. But yeah, others maybe you wouldn't expect. Maliapis, though, has been dominant all the way through this session. The question is, can that hold to the final run? Spicer is very, very close. Drivers are increasingly heading out onto the track now, and I think you're going to see a similar situation with everyone going out at around the same time. It shouldn't affect things too much. Matisse, though, is going to kick off this final flurry of times. He's got a lot of work to do in this session. Very high up drivers in the standings have a lot to do. Ghost, this should be an enthralling last couple of minutes.
It really is going to be. Plenty of people on outlaps. You can see everyone coming out the pits as Matisse comes down towards turn one. Just less than 2 minutes left in the session. So there may, we may have ghosting on and everything to avoid the slipstream, but you still don't want to be too close to a car ahead because it's going to be very distracting if you catch up, even if there's no slipstream or dirty air or anything like that. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky time for those that have just come out the pits. I think they should be fine, but they've got to organise themselves in the next couple minutes. And Matisse coming down towards the end of Sector 2. Big improvement in Sector 1. Can he capitalise on that in the middle sector as well? What's it going to be across the line? No, he's lost everything. So Matisse looking like he's going to be resigned to the back of the grid and an invalidation and, well, straight into the wall. As we'll switch focus straight back to the championship leader, Coolman, who's just starting a lap now. I'm keeping an eye on the timings as well, Dakar, and I'll let you know if there's anyone in particular you need to watch.
Yeah, we'll see if anyone's going to set those timing screens alight. Coolman needs a lot from this final run. Let's see what the first sector is looking like. It's a high point too, actually slightly down on what he had earlier. Locks up going into that's it. That is the end of it. So Dele Rogia spelling the end of Coolman's session will start from 19th position only. Spicer, who's P2 at the moment, didn't have a particularly great opening sector. We'll see what the time is going into the middle sector. Wow, he's found a lot of time and he's over a tenth of a second up. 52 flat to the first two sectors. Just about manages to keep it on the island. Maliapis is circulating behind as well, but Spicer looks to lay down a mark here. How is Parabolica setting it up now? Trying to take a wide entry point. Downshifts rapidly to fifth gear, picks up the throttle quickly. That time to beat 118.384. Spicer's time 118.408. Carry up to the line. Spicer goes fastest. 118.316. Spicer's the time to beat. Is there anyone that is stacking up to that at the moment, Ghost?
Not at the moment. There's some tiny improvements throughout the field, but no one's setting things alight. Maliapis improving by 5 thousandths in Sector 2, but invalidates at Ascari, just trying to get the best possible run. And that is Maliapis' charge for pole over. I think Spicer might have it. Finley's coming to the end of his lap, though. 1.5 tenths up in middle sector, but he needs a lot more than that. Down to the line comes the man in P2 in the championship. He goes to third, and that's pretty good. Second row start for Finley with Coolman down in 19th. He'll be very happy with that. Sieb and, Fleddy's come across the line. No improvement for him. Sieb will be the last one. He comes through. Is it going to be an improvement? Yes, it was actually. Big improvement up to ninth place. Very nicely done. Good pressure lap there from Sieb at the end. But, Spicer takes it away from Maliapis right at the end. But I think we're in for a fantastic race with everyone being this close.
Yeah, and qualifying very rarely tells the story at Monza. Spicer takes it away from Maliapis, and a superb session, you'd have to say, for Finley. What an opportunity this could turn out to be. Louis joins him on the second row from Nick and Spyros. Frank Deschorny, also an outside bet for the championship. Good session from him ahead of Rafael by HR. Sieb and Fraser unusually down in 10th. Napple trails him from Zviadek/Karafalidis. Chris Rebel is 15th from Predestinato. Moikuli, Fleddy, Coolman in 19th, and Matisse. Well, that was a messy session, ultimately ending up at the back of the grid. So, wow, there's a lot of very significant storylines to take from that session. We were discussing just before we went live that it is possible for Coolman to wrap up the championship at the moment. He leads by 22 points over Finley. Fraser, Franek and Leonardo not much further behind on that regard. And there will be 36 points on offer after this race with 32 for wins and then another 4 for pole positions and fastest laps on offer. But you'd have to say with Coolman down in 19th, Finlay, his nearest rival, he had a really tough race last time out at Spa, but he may be rejuvenated, and this race could serve as a real opportunity for him.
It absolutely could, and yeah, a 22-point gap between them. So Coolman definitely still in driving seat, but say Coolman doesn't score here, and Finley manages to take the win. Suddenly that gets slashed to 6 points with 2 rounds to go. And it's suddenly looking a lot more doable and a lot more I guess exciting between those two. I don't want to say it because I don't want to wish ill on Coolman, but it would be a lot more exciting if he doesn't score and Finley wins this race. But not to give any curses. I think it's probably more of a curse to Finley for me to say that rather than a curse to Coolman. But yeah, no, it's really on a knife edge, that sort of gap, because it's just over a race win. And with 3 rounds to go, I think if maybe there were 2 rounds to go, Koolman would feel a little better. But 2 rounds still after this one, and if he has a bad week and Finley has a very good one, he's suddenly going to be in a lot of trouble because Finley will have a lot of momentum coming into the last couple of rounds as well.
Of course, Finlay has been, tailing Coolman very closely in the championship. He got so close after the race in Mexico a couple of weeks ago. CPI Fraser is the driver that we've really been hyped up about the last couple of rounds. He's won 3 out of the last 4 races. He's gotten, until tonight, the last 3 pole positions, but you'd have to say by his standards, a bit of an average qualifying session also opens the door, because we were talking that last week that Fraser may well be that biggest threat to Coolman, but it shows that we can never take anything for granted here, because after Finlay had a poor round last time in Belgium, he seems to be right back into it. But maybe it's too early to write scenarios. But, well, as we start thinking about the championship, it's very easy to get carried away with that. As for the constructors, Mercedes lead Haas. Mercedes had a superb round last time out with great scoring from both Coolman and Fleddy to lead away, but with not a great qualifying for their drivers, it does open the door potentially there as well. The Haas team, well, we haven't seen much of Acid, or actually anything of Acid, as of late. Billy, his teammate, also, I believe, not in attendance tonight. So you could say the top 2 teams in the constructors are almost looking like they might be stalling at this point. So, well, I don't know. It's hard to read the championships, I think, at this stage in the season. We will get a clearer picture after this round. So I guess we should talk about the ways that this race could unfold, because, well, it's been the case for probably the best part of 60 years in terms of the Italian Grand Prix. It is just a massive slipstream fest, and here on F124, it should be no exception. Well, pretty much every race on this game is a slipstream fest, so I guess one wonders how this one could unfold, because it's certainly not an easy pole position to maintain for the full 27 lap distance.
No, it really isn't. And well, just speaking from personal experience at this track, there was one race I went into the final lap, and in fact into the second sector. Down towards Ascari, I was first. I ended the race in fifth, and I didn't crash. That was just how it happened. So, you can never predict how this track is going to go. It is always an absolute spectacle in league racing. And, well, here in PSGL F3, where we've seen spectacles week after week as of late, I don't think that is going to change at all. This is going to be a fantastic race. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yep, I see no differently in that regard. Of course, because we saw last time out at Spa, gaps were able to appear, and that's because you had that entire middle sector with no real slipstreaming opportunities, no DRS zones. It's just pure speed and those downforce confidence dependence corners, that was where you could make up that kind of difference. Monza doesn't really have that kind of opportunity, so you do tend to see a very compressed field. Well, we have a bit of downtime at the moment. I will have a little word for PSGL's sponsors. PSGL sponsored by GT Omega. A link to their site is in the video description. If you decide to purchase any of their delightful products, then you can use the code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. PSGL is partnered with Sim Racing Centre, or SRC for short. If you're needing of setups or coaching on the F1 game, then SRC is just the place to look. They are also in the description, and there is a 10% discount on all of their products, again using the code PSGL. We are already getting loaded into the race, so very quick little turnaround. Strategy wise, I find obviously we talk about usually hard tyres being so strong in most tracks. What you tend to see, though, is that the majority of drivers like to start the race, at the very least, on the mediums. You might see some drivers going for the hards, especially those that are further down the field, but in that early fight for track position, you do really want a tyre that's going to be quick from the onset and to make places when it's easiest to make places in those opening few laps.
Yeah, very much so. And I feel there's definitely going to be a split in strategy here. I know last week the strategy didn't quite go as expected. Almost everyone started on the hard tires, but yeah, I think we will see a split, particularly between the sort of top and bottom halves of the grid. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many people go for the aggressive strategy in the first stint, maybe hoping for a safety car, which, well, 20 cars around Monza, it's far from unlikely. Even in a league as clean and respectful as PSF3, but yeah, I think drivers are really going to have to think about this one, and the race could well come into the hands of someone unexpected, purely due to strategy late on. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be there's going to be some decisions that are going to have to be made, especially with undercuts, I think, as well, you're going to have to watch out for, because they can be so big around here. If you have so many cars battling really closely in a long train, if you duck out of that to make an early pit stop, you can gain many places if no one else joins you. So yeah, keep an eye out for some early pit stops if there are some major battles happening in the pack.
And usually that is to be expected at Monza, with the field always so compressed, genuinely. So we are just waiting for this race to get underway, just a couple of seconds out. I see hard tyres being selected in the pit lane at least, so they may be quite a bit of a split as you suggested. Of course, we saw last time out in Spa, Kuhlmann going off strategy, starting on the mediums when most drivers were on the hards, and he took full advantage of that by putting on an overtaking exhibition in those first couple of laps to move up the order. We'll see if anyone can do that here, if the hard tyre is indeed the tyre of choice at the start of the race, but personally, I expect a lot of mediums. Let's see, we are now getting into the race then. 20 cars raring to go racing at the Temple of Speed in Monza, and they're away for the Italian Grand Prix. Spicer looks to convert that pole position as Maliapis is all over the road, squirming off the start. There's one car that's gone massively backwards, and there's that seed that's detached from the back of the field, but Spicer does lead them away. Fenley battling away with Maliapis, getting in front at a Direttifido, and moves up into that second position then, and they all scrap their way behind as they go through Curva Grande and up towards De La Rogia, with Spicer leading the way ahead of Finley still. They're battling, scrapping behind. Frannick and Raphael are dueling, heading into that entrance to De La Rogia, managing to sort themselves out cleanly. Apart from that poor start from CB, everyone else seems to be fairly clean, but they're still scrapping away, heading into the Lesmo corners halfway around the first lap. You can see, will they be able to sort themselves out eventually? Side by side there, Predestinato getting in front of Carfolidis, and they're running almost nose to tail down there as well. Fleddy as well attacking Zviadek. It hasn't calmed down just yet, and there's drivers running side by side down at the back of the field as they head towards Ascari. This is not a complex you want to be side by side, and finally it seems as though the field goes into single file and tries to settle down.
The last 2 weeks have not been good for my rep of predicting strategies, and almost everyone on the mediums. Only one person choosing the hards to start off with, but Kuhlmann already making up 3 places, so he's charging through the field, as is his teammate Fleddy, up 6 places to 12th. What a start for him. But yeah, Sieb, after his brilliant pressure lap at the end of qualifying, all the way down, completely undone once again, and we've got a few cars side by side into turn 1 further back. That is Predestinato and Karafalidis going wheel to wheel. It looks like they're going to still be side by side through Curva Grande, and sometimes the car on the outside can have the advantage here, but not this time. Predestinato staying ahead as Finley is up into P2 and challenging Spicer for the win. He knows how big of an opportunity this is to get himself back in the championship fight. He's already putting Spicer under pressure, and Maliapis, who dominated the better part of qualifying, down to 3rd now.
Yeah, tough start for Maliapis. They're still battling away further down the field, though, and a gap has opened up thanks to Predestinato and Karafalidis battling it out. Kuhlmann is trying to swamp his way past these guys, but he's run out of space. And Chris Rebel coming all the way down the inside and going into the wall. Oh my goodness, what on earth? Was that lag? I'm not sure what's happened then. It looked as though Chris Rebel's car speared off into the wall. Was that Karafalidis? I'm not sure, but nevertheless... actually, well, Karafalidis now at the back of the train. That was awfully confusing. It does look like he has end plate damage, so it looks like I got that one mixed up. Karafalidis, unfortunately, suffering damage early on in this race, but down at the back of the field, they've been going well. At the front of the field, things are much more civilised, but Finlay is going to take away that race lead from Spicer as Louis Baptiste covers off Nick. Actually looking at Maliapis inside of the Rettifilio, and they're going to go to war again, but he's squeezed out, and Nick now takes advantage. Nick drawing alongside Maliapis, and they're going to side by side through the Curva Grande then. So back goes Louis Baptiste, forward goes Nick, but he has to yield again to Maliapis through the Curva Grande, who holds on to 3rd place in the end. Karafalidis, after that damage, after slamming the wall going into Ascari, is out, unfortunately for him. Fleddy and Napple were dueling too at De La Roggia, and yeah, Napple sliding down into 11th place at the moment, has Slash behind him, but well, aside from the front group, they've all managed to get through fairly cleanly, but that monstrous battling from P14 downwards has opened up a gap in the likes of Predestinato, and critically Kuhlmann, with a lot of work to do. They are detached from the rest of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, Karafalidis, I would imagine probably rear wing damage was the cause of that DNF. But it's big news for the championship, or the Constructors' Championship, him being out of this, because Finlay is now carrying the flag of his team on his own against Kuhlmann and Fleddy, although Kuhlmann down in 15th, Fleddy down in 10th, so there's still a big opportunity for them to gain plenty of points in both championships here. But Spicer back to the inside, and another swap for the lead, but Finlay could be under pressure from Maliapis. No, not quite. A few cars all trying to make moves in the background, and Spyros is round along with Franek Jashawney. They've made contact at turn 1, and through they go into the grass. 10-second penalty given to Spyros. I have no idea if that is accurate. Who were the cause of that incident? I only just caught it on the spectator cam, but both down to 17th and 18th. Franek Jashawney in particular will not be pleased with that one, well, he's only sitting in P4 in the championship. He's not that far behind Finlay, so he would have seen this race as an opportunity as well, but not anymore. Long way back from there.
Yeah, certainly. That's really tough luck. Again, couldn't really catch that myself, so not going to pass judgment on it. But for both Franek and Spyros, major disappointment still very, very early in the race. At the moment, we are seeing a bit of a gap opening up because of that incident. Raphael is having to fill that and try and work his way back in towards DRS. He's burnt a lot of battery on this lap. Fraser is up behind him. Flenny now up 10 places. What a phenomenal stint it's been from him so far. But Raphael's had a bit of a pressure lap, but he's managed to, at the moment, work his way back in. Finlay now coming up behind Spicer. They are going to continue to swap down this main straight without much trouble. They are actually going to arrive into the Rettifilio side by side, and there is a bit of front-to-back contact from Maliapis to Spicer, but they managed to get through just about clean enough. Raphael has made the bridge. Fraser going with him. Fleddy working hard to stay with it. Having 2 cars taken out of the train puts a lot more pressure on the drivers behind to make that gap and then make that bridge across, and that's what we're seeing here. So Fleddy's under a bit of pressure, is going to have to work hard to stay with it. 8 tenths back from Fraser, Napple and Slash behind him, but you can see now we've had a couple of drivers having incidents, and still two separate races. Prenestinato is still dragging Kuhlmann along, but these drivers now maybe just not quite having the pace of the guys in front. That gap is not shortening, it is in fact widening, and unless we see further incidents or a safety car, we could be seeing the points-paying positions fall out of way here, because at the moment it doesn't seem like these guys have an answer for your race leaders.
I'm sure there's more drama to come in this one, but yeah, I agree. I think they're just off the pace. I just don't think they have the raw pace to catch the leaders. It's nearly 4 wide into Parabolica at the front, though. Nick getting past Maliapis. I mean, it looked controlled, but it's from the cockpit, but from the overhead view, that was quite the spectacle. But they're going down to turn 1 now, and it could be 2 by 2. It could even be 3 wide as they head down. Finley and Spicer are side by side, but Nick into the back of Finley, in fact. Maliapi is trying to find a way past as well. Louis Baptiste in the mix too. Raphael just back there watching and waiting for some carnage to occur, but he is disappointed as they all get through cleanly. Maliapi is being challenged by Louis Baptiste, who pulls to the inside but backs out before the De La Roja, and they keep it clean and keep it respectful for now, but Maliapi is looking to the inside of Lesmo One, decides against it, probably wisely from the man who started on the front row, but he'll still be happy to be at least in this pack. That's where you need to be at this stage of the race. You don't need to be leading, you just need to be there or thereabouts, and then you can think about properly trying to get into the lead later on in the race.
I am not participating in this race, but I've had multiple heart and mouth moments just from watching it. They are running so close, and I suppose it's inherent with a circuit like Monza, but my oh my, the proximity of these drivers. Maliapis has looked particularly aggressive, of course, just missing out on pole and then falling back at the start. Won't have gone down too well, and he's got a bit of a run on IRT Nick. It could go down on this main straight. Finley is going to close up to Spicer as well. Spicer had a bit of an advantage over the line, but Finley's going to draw up and along side and through, surely. Maliapis is searching, going late on the brakes, but even later on the brakes is Louis, who's found up on the outside of De Rettifilo. Can he get that move done? They fight for traction on the exit, and a bit of an oversteer moment for Louis does, in the end, give up that place. Raphael was looking to take advantage. Fraser is right there as well, looking to grab points in the championship. Louis is attacking again, this time to the inside of Maliapis, hitting into De La Roja, brakes late once again, and this time it's a clean move. Beautiful stuff from Louis Baptiste, back up into position number 4. Maliapis falling back again. He was on the attack, searching, poking the nose out every time he got to near a braking zone to Nick, but ending up conceding a place rather than gaining it. And Louis kicking out the rear end, really aggressive on this lap, planting that throttle pedal hard, and now looking up towards the leaders. So we're seeing again drivers not content to sit where they are in the train and really looking to move forward, and we saw that with Maliapis, we've saw that now with Louis up into P4 and now staring down the top 3. But you'd have to say those top 3, considering the chaos that has went down behind them, they've held their places very well in this first 7 laps.
Yeah, they certainly have so far, although Nick has done very well. He started from P5, so he's done well to get himself into that top 3, but I have to say Louis looking very strong as well. Just that overtake from him on Maliapis, and just the willingness to go for it is certainly reflecting well on him so far. Nick into the back of Finley, not for the first time today, and they just about get through turn 1 all in one piece, but there's a big kerfuffle going on behind between Raphael, Fraser and Napple, who are all in the mix, but they've gotten through it as well, and they've done well there. I've seen plenty of times drivers lock wheels on the exit of that corner as they're side by side, and they don't realise how close they are to each other. So I think everyone's doing very, very well so far to keep each other out the wall. But, you know, I think one driver to keep an eye on here, just don't forget about Fraser. He may be down in 7th, but he is in this train, and we've seen how good he has been the last few weeks. He may not have had a good quali, but you can't count him out, the form that he's currently in.
Never, and of course we saw in Suzuka he was in a similar position to this, charged right through the field and ultimately ended up taking out that race win with the last lap pass on Kuhlmann, still in the train, still in the fight. I'm expecting to start to see pit stops around about this time in the race, especially as Kuhlmann has come in as well as a couple of others from that back train, and actually the leaders are for the most part all coming in. Look at that, it's so busy heading in towards that pit lane. So in, Spicer, Finley, Nick, Louis, Raphael and Sviatek have all come in then the rest of the train deciding to stay out. So we're now down to a group of 5. Very busy in the pit lane. Lap 8 was the lap of choice, and I've just seen Nick. He's actually stacked, I think, behind Finley. So those two were teammates, two drivers that were in the top 3. I just managed to catch that in the middle of the pit lane. Spicer gets out in front of Finley, but Nick falling right back. Well, we've seen it multiple times already this season. And again, from a contending driver, you know, when you're running in the top 3, you wouldn't expect to get caught up in the pits, but that's happened, and that's some cruel luck for IRT Nick. Comes out right in front of Coolman, and a driver that was up there fighting for the lead has now got a massive task to do and is long detached now from the leading group.
Yeah, that's super, super unfortunate for Nick, but I have to say a bit of good karma for Finley there, that he was in front of Nick, because how many times have we seen him lose out to an unfortunate pit lane stack so far this season. So yeah, he'll be happy about that. If he'd just lost that one place to Nick, then it would have been him down there in 14th instead. So yeah, he'll be wiping the sweat off his brow once he realised what happened there. But he's still just behind Spicer and doing very well to keep with him as more of the top drivers come in to respond. Fraser, Napple and Slash, with Maliapis staying out alongside Fleddy, who has got himself in DRS of Maliapis, which is a brilliant, brilliant drive so far from Fleddy. And we'll see if he can keep it up, but staying out for this long might well hurt him more than it helps. Fraser coming out the pits. Where are the others? Spicer just coming down the pit lane with Finley, but where are the ones behind? Here comes Raphael just in front of Fraser, and Fraser looking to the inside of turn 1, decides against it just about, but Louis Baptiste up there as well. Where's Nick? 2 seconds down the road and still battling with Coolman. He is not going to be a happy man in that cockpit.
Absolutely not, and coupled with the undercut, it has allowed Finley and Spicer to get up the road 2 seconds to that group behind, so Raphael, Fraser and Louis. Well, they've got a big task ahead of them to try and close that gap back up to the top 2, who you have cooperated, you'd have to say, very well, and we saw Spicer doing this with Fraser in the couple rounds ago at Jeddah. Of course, we know how that one ended, but he can work with another driver, at least when he needs to, and he's going to need to now. Fraser behind, coming down the outside of Raphael, gets the move done, and yeah, needs to get these passes done efficiently if you want to get up towards the cars in front. Raphael and Louis are chasing. Slash, Sviatek, Napple, they've been detached a little bit as well from these guys, so it's Slash who stayed out a little bit longer. You wonder how much he lost out, and both he and Napple did pick up time penalties for speeding in the pit lane. So a bit of a double dose of bad fortune in this race. Up to this point, Fleddy and Spire also come in. Let's see where Fleddy's going to emerge, though of course he was near the back of that train. Emerges now. He's going to be close with Slash, who's side by side down the main straight with Sviatek, who moves up. Slash is going to come out right alongside Fleddy. Look at this. Fleddy coming out just in front of Napple. My apologies there. Spyros decides to call it a day in the pit lane. So Napple emerges just behind Fleddy, though. So no safety car. They'll come out. Napple picking up a bit of a slipstream on Fleddy, running out of battery, looking towards the inside to De La Roggia. He's going to be not quite light enough on the brakes. Fleddy's going to hold on to that one with late braking himself around the outside, trying to get those hard tyres up to temperature. But the pit phases have fractured things a little bit. There are small gaps separating the trains, and yeah, you're seeing Raphael and Sviatek further back as well. More than a second from the car in front and having to bridge across. Spicer and Friendly working around fairly nicely. Raphael has clawed back that gap a little bit, but he and Fraser, they're going to have to work hard and get that gap down. But Raphael's pace does seem to be very strong, and they are slowly but surely reeling in the leaders.
Maliapis, a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and he joins Slash and Napple in the Hall of Shame for pit lane speeding penalties. Out he comes now. He's going to be way down, though, after the undercut, because he's stayed out so long. Finley getting up past Spicer, but out comes Appies, and the man who started this race in second place is now going to be down in 8th as he exits the pits, but it's going to be even further with that 10-second penalty. And due to all of this, Coolman's decision to come in early and go for that super undercut has worked like a treat. 3 cars ahead of him with 10-second penalties. He is in a net, because Matisse and Jashoni yet to pit as well. So Coolman in a net P9 right now, and it could get better for him as the race goes on, because he is now in this train for P8 as it stands. So Coolman could salvage some more points than we thought from this race.
Certainly very, very possible, and at the moment he can just observe and see what is going on out in front of him, so keep an eye for that. Coolman trying to put down a bit of a damage limitation drive with his rivals up front. Fraser has gone past Raphael on this lap and is oh so close to the race leaders. These two have worked together phenomenally well, and Louis is really having to push his heart out to stay with the two of them. So Fraser and Raphael are really flying, and they put in a couple of very, very solid laps. Moy Cooley picks up, I believe, the first time penalty for track limits. Actually, Matisse does have one as well, as Raphael repasses Fraser down the straight, and you can see, whereas Finley and Spicer are just cruising past each other, these guys, they're working with intent. They're using that overtake button, and you can see the difference in the closing speeds when they overtake each other. They've worked so well together, Raphael and Fraser, and they have been rewarded now with a bit of a ticket to the leading group. Raphael is there staring at Finley's rear wing, and a great recovery drive too from Fraser after an average qualifying session. He's right back in there. Louis just hanging on to those guys, 3 seconds back to Slash. A bit of a good working group has formed, but there may be more dynamics at play, because Frank DeShawney, who has not come in, is out in front of these guys and is going to be a bit of an obstacle for the race leaders to navigate.
Yeah, he certainly is, but he is going to give Spicer DRS as it stands, and I'm sure he will. They go through Ascari now, although a little mistake from Spicer through there, and Franek very strong on those 12-lap-old mediums, but just about enough for Spicer to get in that range. So the train will continue. Maliapi's losing a ton of places. What has happened there? He's just given them all up. I think he might be coming in to retire, Daka, because that was very unusual. He just gave up 4 places. Franek into the pits finally. And, well, what's happened?
A safety car has been brought out, and Predestinato has gone, well, he's stopped, and that's coming out of Ascari. I didn't actually catch that, so I'm not sure what the circumstances are, but a safety car has been brought out just, and predictably a number of drivers, those that could, have gone in, because the mediums, they can go the distance. So well, there's a bit of a difference in strategies. Franek, who was coming in anyway, goes on to the hards, and Nick, Coolman, Napple and Maliapis have all taken this opportunity to put mediums on. So that's very intriguing. And a safety car, we don't actually get many of them in PSF3, at least not this season. But 4 drivers coming in, gaining fresh mediums on, they'll rejoin the train. They won't give up much in the way of track position. And you'd have to say, game on, because they are going to be hunting these guys down. So Nick, Coolman, Napple and Maliapis, they are going to be drivers to watch. They have the fresh mediums. They are going to be charging in the laps to come when this safety car will eventually come in.
Well, if everyone decides to go on mediums here, then Matisse, out of nowhere, is going to be your new net race leader, because he is the only one who hasn't stopped yet, the only one to start on the hards as well. I'm sure those around him thought, why are you starting on hards? What an idiot. And here he is, about to become the net race leader if everyone else does come in for the mediums, which is a very real possibility. What is Spicer going to do? He's heading into the pits, as is Finley, and everyone behind him. Matisse could be leading this race. Is anyone going to stay out? Not at the moment. Fleddy in, Zviadek in. Here comes Chris Rebel round. He's one to stay out, perhaps, and yeah, there we go. Chris Rebel staying out.
Living up to the name.
Yeah, that definitely is consistent with how I know him from elsewhere. Chris Rebel staying out and will now be the new leader of the Italian Grand Prix, and he is going to be a little bit of a spoiler effect now for everyone behind. He's going to be on much worse tyres, and he hasn't really had the pace of the top runners. He's had decent pace today, better than the last few weeks, but not top runner pace. So yeah, can they get past him? Can they dispatch of him quickly and efficiently, or is he going to cause a bit of commotion when the safety car comes in?
Ghost, I think commotion is going to be inevitable with the race situation in this point. So Spicer's going to close up to him, and yeah, it's going to come down. Chris Rebel no disrespect, but on 7-lap-old hards is probably not going to be able to resist the cars behind. But the question is, that, yeah, as you said, quickly and efficiently, how can you get the move done? Spicer, Finley, Raphael, all these guys, they are going to be under a lot of pressure to make that move, and this is where you can see splits in the train. It can all come down to timing as to how you can get that move done. It has sorted things out a little in the order. Louis, who I actually think may have been held up in the pits, because I was going to mention he made a really nice overtake on Fraser heading into the pit lane by just outbraking him on the entry, but has fallen right down to P11. So I think he's another driver that's fallen foul of double stacking, and he falls down the order into 11th, and that promotes Nick and Coolman, who came in a little bit earlier on the first lap of the safety car. They now run inside of the points, so good stuff from them. Actually, I've just corrected myself. Oh no, did he? There were cars that served penalties, I can't remember exactly. I don't know if Louis was one of them, and that's why he's fallen further down the order, but now running 11th anyway, and a lot of work to do, but it has meant that those 10-second penalties for speeding have been cleared, and things have somewhat neutralised themselves in the pack now.
Yeah, definitely, and those who did have those penalties will be very happy about this safety car. But no one will be happier than the championship leader, NLR Coolman, who looked for a long time in this race like he didn't have much of a chance for points. But now here he is in 10th and with plenty of chance to move further up if he can take his opportunities. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of commotion, like you say, happening as everyone tries to get past Chris Rebel, and that could fall into Coolman's hands as well. So there's plenty of opportunity for him, and we know how good he is at picking up the pieces when things go wrong for others so far this season. He has done it all season long, and that is sometimes how to win championships. You don't have to be the fastest driver in the field to win a title. You just have to be the one who stays on the track and picks up the pieces when others have bad days. And, well, he's certainly in a good spot to do exactly that today. The safety car in this lap, Chris Rebel will lead us off on 8-lap-old hard tyres with everyone behind him on fresh mediums. That has got to be intimidating as a driver. But, yeah, Spicer and Finley, especially Finley and especially Fraser as well down there in 6th, are going to be desperate to make their way through the pack as we get back under green flags again.
Best part of 15,000 horsepower is going to be chasing down Chris Rebel as he looks to apply and immediately plants that throttle pedal out of Parabolica and away, but Spicer has reacted strongly and is on the move, picking up that slipstream. Can he put a car between himself and his rivals? He's closing on Chris Rebel all the time, goes to the inside towards the Rettifilio, and to the lead goes Spicer, surely trying to break later. Oh, he locks up the rears but manages to get it stopped, and through he goes, and Chris Rebel now is a buffer between Spicer and the rest. Finley is going to have to get that move done ASAP if he wants any chance of staying with him. Behind Fraser, Matisse all scrapping down there. Matisse under pressure immediately on the restart, and Fleddy was into the back of him into the middle of Curva Grande. Ends up tucking in behind in towards P7 at the moment. So they all filter through relatively cleanly, no big gaps opening up in this early lap. But yeah, Chris Rebel overtaken by Spicer, wasn't much you could do about that. Spicer responded so well to the restart, and now Finley is the driver that's under a bit of pressure. He's burned off a lot of his overtake button. He knows how important this next couple of laps could be, but Chris, you'd have to say, is keeping up fairly strongly with Spicer. So those mediums, or those hard tyres I should say, have held up decently well. Of course though, this track is one that it's very difficult to break away on. So actually Chris Rebel's pace is holding up better than I would have thought, and that could open stuff up for Finley. He's going to need to try and get it done soon towards Parabolica, looking towards an inside line. We complete the 17th tour of the Temple of Speed, heading on to the 18th lap now, and Finley picking up that slipstream once again on Chris Rebel, who's not going to defend too hard down the main straight, and it looks like Finley is going to get through. So Chris Rebel being, not, to be honest, not as slow as I was expecting, and Raphael trying to follow through, goes deep to the inside and gets through as well. Great opportunistic move from Raphael. They're clearing Chris Rebel pretty well, and to be honest, with the fairly decent pace he's displaying, actually getting caught behind him for a little while doesn't seem to be such a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Great move from Raphael, that was, as Fleddy gets his way past Matisse as well, and Nick as well. They're side by side into De La Roger, all three of them, and Nick gets his way through. Matisse into the gravel and loses a few more spots, and, well, he had to change his wing in the pit, so he didn't end up being the net race leader in the end, and now he's down back to 11th, and he'll be disappointed with how that's gone, these opening few laps after the safety car. But look at this, Fraser right behind Chris Rebel and looking to get his way into the top four. He cleared Matisse very quickly after the safety car, and the man on form at the moment, CPI Fraser, is going to be looking to get his way onto the podium in this race. That's Matisse all the way down. I think that's Ascari. I think he's either crashed or no, he's just a little way behind from the pack. He must have just made a small mistake. But Coolman down in P9 right now. He will manage to salvage some points as it stands, but how big is the damage going to be as Finley takes the lead of the race, and it's 2 by 2 behind him as Raphael and Spicer go wheel to wheel, but Fraser past Chris Rebel to P4, and now here's trouble for the top three. CPI Fraser right behind and hungry for the win to gain more points on the championship lead, and we could have a three-way fight for the championship going into the last couple rounds if it ends like this.
Oh, what a prospect that would be, but Koolman is fighting for his own chances as well. He's just gone past Viadic towards De La Rosia, and Louis following in from behind too. Good move from him. Gets in front of Viadic, trying to recover his pace. We know he's got a lot of speed around this track. Now chasing down Koolman, trying to get the best results he can. Now, further up the road, Finley does now lead it from Raphael, now in front of Spicer, and as the laps tick down, the aggression level is going to get turned up to 11 between these top drivers, and Spicer is going to run on Raphael towards Parabolica. You don't want to be third in the train. It's easy to overtake if you're second in the train. He looks to the inside. He hasn't actually pressed his overtake button, so there's not a massive sense of urgency from Spicer, but he's close enough that he could even make an impact on this battle from here, and he is going to do so. He looks to pull alongside down the main straight to Raphael. Raphael, they're both going to be on the overtake button. Finley is going to be vulnerable here. Inside the last 8 laps of the Grand Prix, Raphael moves to the lead, and Spicer follows him, and there's nothing Finley can do to resist these two. On the inside, Spicer compromises Raphael's line out of the Rettifio, has a little bit of contact between them. They end up getting clean.
The gravel. Coolman into the gravel at the exit of turn 2. He's gone wheel to wheel with Louis Baptiste, and it's all gone wrong, and Coolman is down to 14th. The championship leader has given himself more work to do to get himself back into the points again. I'm sorry to interrupt, Dakir, but what a crucial
he's got
moment
damage
in this championship fight, and there could be damage to Coolman as well. There is big damage to Coolman's front wing, as there was an incident ahead of him between Franek and Slash, and it's all gone terribly wrong for the championship leader. And well, Finley, I don't know if Finley and Fraser are going to know that this has happened yet. Is anyone in their ear? Have they got teammates talking to them, telling them what's happened to Coolman? I don't know, but they'll be knowing that they have to capitalize anyway on this race, so it could put the pressure on, but they might not know about it. Who knows? Nick, in the meantime, getting his way back past Chris Rebel, and he has recovered from that unfortunate stacking in the pit lane. He's up to 5th place, and he's in the train for first, and sets the fastest lap as well, just to put even more of a marker on it. Raphael now into the lead of this race, with Spicer behind. Finley nearly into the back of Spicer as they go through turn 1, and switches him back at turn 2, down towards Curva Grande. They could go side by side, but Spicer uses overtake to stay ahead.
And even have a look to the race leader, but I think he wants to try and remain in second position. Finley might not let him do that, though. He is all over him and actually does go into the back of him. I did see debris flying. Maybe it's not cosmetic. At the very least, I can't see damage to Finley's front wing, but he's getting oh so close, and he must know there is an opportunity then. Fraser knows the same, but there are threats behind. Nick, as you said, was on a charge, getting past Crest Rebel on that last lap and setting the fastest lap of the race. What a finale we could have in store at Monza. You've seen Spicer at the front trying to calm everything down, but everyone else around him going to war out there. We have got just over 6 laps to go, with Raphael leading and Spicer chasing in Finley and Fraser with big opportunities in the championship now. The excitement level is palpable, but they all try to calm it down and reset themselves for this main straight. But Finley, oh so close and looking, searching, trying to get away through. He's on that overtake button, heading out of Parabolica. Spicer is close to Raphael as well, as Raphael going to get swamped on this occasion. They head down the main straight now for the 22nd time. Spicer picking up that slipstream, and Finley is oh so close behind it, and so is Fraser. So Spicer going to the race lead, and Finley is tucked in, looking to try and follow through. Fraser behind as well, but you can see Raphael, he holds all the way around the outside of turn 1 and keeps a hold of the race lead. Spicer with better traction, drawing level, heading towards Carver Grundy, and Finley so close as well in the slipstream, looking for a way through too. And here comes Fraser now. Fraser looking to the inside too, down the Carver Grundy, has to back off as Spicer gets just in front of Raphael, level in the braking zone, into De La Roggia around the outside. Spicer leads. Finley gets oversteered and doesn't get through on Raphael, who's looking for a way through. The aggression level continues to get turned up. Nick is looking in behind. Fleddy is right there. They are running nose to tail. How on earth could this end? Spicer now leads, but this race could end anyway, Ghost. They are absolutely pushing each other around the track.
Finley and Fraser, the big players in the championship, so they have the most to lose here. Spicer and Raphael, and particularly Raphael, who hasn't really battled towards the front for the majority of this season. He's going to want a race win here, but Finley and Fraser, they've got to keep in mind the championship implications here, with Coolman down in last place. And look at the gaps. We have a 13-car train for P1 with 5 laps to go. This is absolutely phenomenal stuff. Finley, Raphael, Spicer, Fraser, Nick, all up there. Fleddy is there as well, and Chris Rebel is still in the mix on 15-lap-old hards. Here they go down towards turn 1. It's going to be 3 wide for the lead of the race. Finley backs out and Raphael gets ahead, but Finley and Spicer remain wheel-to-wheel through turn 2. Fraser just looking in the background, in fact right on the back of them through Curva Grande, but has to back out in the end. But I'm sure he's going to look for this move, look for the opportunities as the laps tick down and he runs out of time to make those moves. It's a bit of cut off there between Spicer and Finley, as Finley just about avoids going into the grass, but it's all getting very tense out there. Frantic Jashawny into the top 10 now as well, so perhaps his charge for the championship might not be over either.
This is Monza. Look at how close these guys are. Raphael from Spicer then. Spicer is, again, the only driver trying to calm it down. He goes to the outside towards Ascari. Maybe he's not calm. He's going to go on the offensive, and Raphael backs off on the entry to Ascari. Wise choice, I would say. Now, though, he's going to be under threat from Finley. Finley got a good exit off of Ascari. He's looking out for Fraser, 2 in behind. And Fraser from Nick, who did pressure him a little bit at Parabolica on the last lap. Those 5... nothing between them. There's a 10th between each car. Absolutely astonishing stuff. But they all checked up, and Fraser's on the outside of Finley. He has to lose out when he's not in the slipstream. Now the DRS is going to be opened up. Raphael's going to close on Spicer. Fraser is going to try and attack Finley, but Finley himself has none of it. Going for the race lead on the inside of turn 1. Gets it stopped and turned in. Finley gets 2 in 1. They're running 2 by 2 further down the order though. Finley leads Raphael. Spicer, Fraser is falling right back here. And now under pressure from Fleddy, Nick. Napple's gone through, and Chris Rebel too. Chris Rebel struggling to hold on his aging hard tyres. Has Frank Sieb, Zviadek, Maliapis, Louis trying to hold on to them. That is the fight. It is virtually every single car in the race in a train for the race lead. But Finley, how brave was that? And he's putting in a big effort here. 7/10 of a second lead. Finley, is he trying to break clear, dump the battery, and get these guys out of DRS? That is almost impossible to do at Monza.
Unbelievable stuff. If he can do it though, Finley, he'll be in with the huge chance of winning this race, but he hasn't been able to. 3/10 to Raphael now. He's come back into it, and the racing resumes. Louis Baptiste now the latest victim of track limits. He's down in 13th, and well, he was looking at a top 5 finish earlier today, and now it's looking like he might not get any points at all. In all likelihood won't. And here they go again, down towards turn 1, past Parabolica. Fraser on the inside of Spicer. They're all going to head down to turn 1. They're all going to use some overtake button, or at least some hot lap of their ERS. Nick and Fleddy swap places, but the top 4 going wheel to wheel again. Here comes Fraser. Looks to the inside, backs out to the outside. There's contact between Raphael and Spicer, and again through turn 2. They just about get through in one piece. Finley retains the lead with 3 laps to go. Can he hold on all the way to the end here? Fraser down in 4th. Coolman down in 15th. This is an absolute dream scenario for EVE Finley. Can he possibly hold on with all of this carnage happening, and with Spicer and Raphael hungry for a race win behind?
Oh my goodness, how many ways could these last 2.5 laps unfold? Findlay is so fast through the Lesmos, and he pulls out that gap every time, but even this sort of gap is not enough. All Spicer has to do is stay in DRS range. With these two DRS zones in, towards Ascari and towards the Rettifilo, he will make up ground. Raphael Fraser in behind. Remarkably, there hasn't been many changes in position despite the incredible battling. At least further down the train, there's been a lot of lead changes, of course, as Fraser now is looking at Raphael. Raphael blips the overtake button and gets back in front defending. Fraser with a superb run through Parabolica snatches away that third place. Fraser is onto the podium. What a comeback drive it has been, and he's now chasing down Spicer. Spicer's going to have DRS in the lead. Is Fraser the one to move up then? Raphael is still there. He draws out the slipstream. 4 cars converge for the race lead once again. As to the inside goes Fraser. In the middle, Spicer boxed in. Finlay holds all of them off around the outside of turn 1 as Raphael and Fraser bang wheels out of the first chicane. Eventually Fraser does get out in front. Now the slipstream being picked up by Spicer. We're inside the last 2 laps and they're going to war. Here comes Fraser again on the outside but runs out of space. Spicer holding on to that second place. He looked to the inside of Finlay. He's been the driver that has tried to control things, and maybe going into the final lap in second place. Is that the spot to be?
How on earth are they all pointing in the right direction after that first chicane? Unbelievable. 3 wide and they all got through safely. Fantastic racing from PSF3 today. Nick and Fleddy in the mix as well, just behind. They're just watching all of this go down and waiting for it all to go wrong, but it's just not happening. Coolman's still right at the back of the grid, not being able to make any progress, and we're coming on to the final lap as we head towards Parabolica for the penultimate time. Finlay leads the race, but not by much, and he's got less CRS than the cars behind as well. Spicer and Fraser coming towards him, and it's going to be 3 wide, perhaps down to turn 1. Maybe Raphael can join the party as well. Here we go, 3 wide for all the front runners, and it's Spicer who leads the race into turn 1 on the final lap of the race. Fraser just behind gets a poor exit, but so does Finlay, and he's not vulnerable to Raphael, but he is down to third place. Slash all the way down to the back there. Contact with Coolman, who's now further behind and even less likely to score points now on this final lap. It's all happening all the way up and down the grid. Who knows where they're all going to finish?
I have no idea. Spicer takes away the race lead. He has been the smartest driver, you'd have to say, in this race, and he is shooting off, but can Fraser get to him? They both kick out the rear end in a Lesmo too. Spicer leads away. Fraser, they've had one last lap showdown in Jeddah that went sour. Fraser looking for the race lead again towards the outside of Ascari. Gets alongside, but can't get it done on the brakes. Well, the other one towards Parabolica though. As they head out of Ascari, the rear end's kicking around from Spicer. He's under so much pressure now. The slipstream from Fraser looking to the outside towards Parabolica, and the drag race is gonna go his way. CPI Fraser leads in Monza, unbelievably. He's won 3 and 4. Is it gonna be 4 and 5? Fraser coming up to the lane. He's denied Spicer at the last, and CPI Fraser wins in Monza from Spicer and Finlay. Have you ever seen a race like that? CPI Fraser, from where on the grid, comes through to win it. He was 10th on the grid, and he came through all the way to snatch it from Spicer right at the death. Finlay in third place. He led going into the final lap, but ultimately that left him more vulnerable than all. Well, we were wondering, this is Finlay's opportunity to move up in the standings. We've seen Coolman have a bad race, but in the end, it is that man once again, CPI Fraser. How does he do it on such a consistent basis? He was nowhere early in the race, but somehow he comes through and takes yet another win, his 4th in 5 races.
That is by far his most impressive victory of those 4. He was nowhere, like you said, on pace in qualifying, and in the race he was barely making progress. He had a decent first stint, but he was just sticking in the train. But he just came alive at the end and fought his way through. Very, very clever with the ERS usage and the timing of his moves, and he has managed to take a absolutely wonderful race win from 10th on the grid and gets himself into second place in the championship. And, well, Daka, he is on 72 points, just 9 behind Coolman with 2 rounds to go. Suddenly, this championship has gone from a one-man show to a 3-man fight.
Oh my goodness. Well, the stage could not be much more well set heading in to the last couple of rounds. Yeah, that was just astonishing, wasn't it? I get, look, I've seen some people complaining that it's not the most representative of skill, and maybe that is to a certain extent true, but because you can see even if you are the fastest, you just cannot pull away here at Monza. I was actually watching the gaps all the way down the field. There was not more than 4 tenths of a second between one driver to the next going into the last 2 laps. There was no gap bigger than that. I mean, that is, you just, I'm lost for words. That was just unbelievable action. I think from our point of view, we love it. It's just insane to see how close these guys can fight. And I don't know about you, Ghost, but I have to give so much immense respect to all of those drivers because how you can battle in such close proximity. Yeah, we saw incidents, but I mean, it was remarkably clean out there given how insanely tight the racing was.
There's plenty of people unhappy in the chat, but of course there's going to be people unhappy when you have a race that close and you miss out. I think the only person who's going to be happy after that one is going to be Fraser, and for good reason. But I mean, every single driver on that grid today should be so proud, I think, of the way that they conducted this race. Unbelievable racing in so many other leagues that would never ever have happened. We've had a crash, multi-car pile-up way sooner, many laps before the end in that situation. But here, no such thing. They all kept it clean. They all kept it pointing in the right direction. And really, the only person to get embroiled in unfortunate incidents consistently was the man who's got a reputation for avoiding them this season, Coolman. And that's just how unpredictable Monza can be. And, well, that championship now looking very interesting indeed. In both championships, in fact, with Coolman having such an unfortunate race, but also just not being on the pace today.
Well, yeah, my mind is a whirlwind right now. There's a lot running through it. Yeah, we have a massive change in proceedings at the front of this championship, and it makes things so finely poised heading into the final 2 rounds. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about what we have left to come. Round 11, round 12, Losail and Interlagos. That is what is left for us this season. Coolman's title lead, much more vulnerable than it was. Of course, it does mean there is a chance to wrap it up still. There was a chance to wrap it up tonight, although granted it was a slim one. But Coolman, Finley, Fraser, even Franek's not going to be completely out of contention just yet. Well, who knows? Again, I'm just steeped in anticipation for what these final 2 rounds have in offer.
Yeah, we'll update you on the standings next week for the official final standing, as I'm sure there'll be stewards' inquiries. But you know, we can't commentate. We can't comment on those at this time. We can call things as we see them, and well, as I'm seeing them at the moment, Dakar, it is amazing stuff. With 2 rounds to go, the championship closed up again. The racing just as phenomenal as ever. I cannot wait, and especially I think Interlagos is going to be, I would say, probably is going to be one of the best races you're going to see in a long time in league racing. Mark my words, it's going to be fantastic if this has anything to go by.
Do not miss it. I will very much emphasize those words. So that would be round 10, just about in the books. Well, a race that we could not have predicted at any point. A race that evolved in so many different ways. Our perception of the race changed all the time. And in the end, well, you may look at it and think, he's just won 3 rounds in a row. But well, the nature of those wins is what is really, really insane. Such a contrast from Fraser's last win in Spa. This one was a tooth and nail fight, and one that could have gone so many different ways. But I think that is going to be just about it for tonight. Once again, massive thank you to our sponsors, GT Omega and SRC. Make sure to check them out. All the links are in the description, so make sure to have a look at that. But with 10 of the 12 rounds in the books and a phenomenal Italian Grand Prix behind us, we now look forward to the conclusion of this season. The Qatar Grand Prix is next up at the Losail circuit. Make sure not to miss that one, because if this is anything to go by, it's going to be another cracker. So for myself and Ghost, it is goodbye for now, and until next time, we'll see you later.